Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Talks with Taeler Hendrix podcast. It's going to become my thing. I know you guys are sick of hearing it, but every week I say it because every week I mean it. And again, this week is definitely no exception. I am here with an amazing, pretty much the closest thing you can get to a modern day Wonder Woman. She is a double grad educated. She is the co-owner of a fitness company. She is a reality TV star, a former WWE prospect, NPC and IFBB pro. She is just an all-around badass. Join me in welcoming Nikki Giacara. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Girl, it's my pleasure. I feel my fans are going to have so much that they want to ask from me. You have pretty much done it all. You have done Lingerie Football. You did Bad Girls Season 6. You are literally helping people live healthier, stronger, longer lives. You've competed in 10 competitions. You've placed in quite a few. You've overcome surgery. You have two degrees. I'm like, okay, so first off, what can't you do? What cannot you do?
I can't sing. I'm not a singer whatsoever. No.
Me neither.
It's fine.
It's all good. Okay. One of the things I noticed when listening to other people interview you was everybody always wants to talk about your time being on reality TV. Now, I'm like, guys, this is only one of like a billion things that you have done. So I want to briefly just talk a little bit about you being on reality TV because that's something most people are it's like an addiction to them.
Totally.
But then I want to totally go into everything else that's amazing that you have done. So let's first start off with you being on season 6 of Bad Girls Club. I know that was a crazy experience, so dish.
It's just crazy to me because it's been like 10 years and you know how it is. Like people, like literally we filmed in 2010, the show aired in 2011. And I'm like, how to also go into grocery stores and people are like, you look like somebody I went to high school with. And I'm like, no, it was definitely a fun experience. In a nutshell, I actually didn't even apply to be on it. I was actually reached out to by a casting director because at the time I was playing in the Lingerie Football League and my profile picture was me playing football. And their response was just like, hey, like, what do you do? Like, do you want to come to this casting call? And I'm like, sure, what is it? And so they were like, Bad Girls Club. Google 7 girls with strong personalities live in a house. I'm like, oh yes, let's do this. So I ended up going to the tryout or the casting call from my actual practice. Actually, I ended up being like an hour late. Showed up, went through the whole questions, and I don't know. From there, they liked me. They moved me on to the next round. Before I knew it, I was chosen, and there it went.
A whirlwind, pretty much, right?
Basically.
So a lot of people want to know what that kind of experience is like, because you're being filmed all the time. There's a lot of stir in the pot for that drama, for the ratings.
Totally.
And also, too, that's kind of your day to day. So what was it like being vulnerable in all kinds of crazy situations that you probably can't even remember until you see footage or people bring it up and then it's like, wait, that happened on TV?
Oh. It's weird because you think about it, like you get chosen to be on a show because of how you are in like everyday normal life. Like that's your personality. Once you get into the house, there's all these like different rules because you don't have TV, you don't have internet, you don't have radio. Like you're literally kind of in this weird, I call it like a prison because you're not doing what you would normally do in real life. So every day that passes, your mental strength, your tolerance, your patience gets tested. And again, growing up in sports, and I'm sure you know this, it's like as you get further along in your career, you know what kind of balance that you have to be, and you know the kind of mental strength that you have to have. And some girls were just like freaking out by the 3rd week, and I'm like, oh honey, you have like 12 more to go. So I mean, it was definitely a fun experience from that aspect. It's weird to just, you are the subject every minute of every day, so it's just kind of that shift. I remember the airplane or going home from the actual Bad Girls Club. It was like just before Thanksgiving of that year. And I remember like going out of the house and have no cameras following me, like nothing. No one knew who I was. I got to the airport. I'm like, here's my ticket. Like, we're good. And it was awesome. But the week later, it was like, nope, here's the promo. Everyone knows who you are now. So definitely fun, definitely memorable. Would I do it again? I actually would. Everyone is like, no, I wouldn't. I would. Like everything happens for a reason. And I feel like we're put into situations or opportunities or whatever you want to call it that are part of your journey. And I feel like if you don't take those, your story is kind of boring.
Absolutely. Every story has ups and downs and twists and turns, just like the best roller coasters that you pay money to go on.
Totally.
Well, you actually answered my next question for me, which was, would you go through that experience again? I know reality TV is huge, whether you have like Total Divas or Big Brother or Survivor and everything else. I don't really watch that stuff. So I'm like, so you actually would.
Yeah, and I got reached out to a couple times after the show. I had filmed for Bad Girls Club, and then I had my hip surgery like the next year. So I was actually offered to do the first season of, what was it, American Ninja Warrior. Couldn't do it at the time.
Oh, wow.
I had just came out of surgery, and it was totally not worth it. And then some other like follow up stuff to Bad Girls Club, but I don't know. Once I've done something, I'm kind of like, okay, what's next?
Yes, you got to keep pushing forward, take the next challenge. Absolutely. So, you know what? Let's actually talk about that. So, you actually had a bilateral arthroscopic hip surgery. So, that's basically hip dysplasia. Am I right? Okay. I want everybody listening and or watching this to hear about your experience, because what I thought was so amazing is when I actually met you, there was no signs that you were hurting. There was no signs that you were either undergoing or had just undergone surgery. Like, you were a one-woman wrecking crew on a mission, and I thought you were absolutely fabulous.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So I want people, because some wrestlers and other pro athletes, I've had NFL players on here, and the one commonality is trying to overcome that circumstance that you weren't even aware you had or were going to experience. And I know for you, you had briefly mentioned that you didn't even know you had an underlying condition, which was contributing to the reason why you needed the surgery. And I know that being athletic was very important to you. You have a love for fitness. It's in your everyday life. So can you explain to everybody what that process was like and how you were able to get through it to be better than you were before it?
Totally. And just to give a background about hip dysplasia, I think it affects like about 3% of the population. I had done a ton of research at the time when I first had been diagnosed. And most of the time when kids are born, the doctors do this like hip test and they figure out like, hey, do they have it or do they don't? I don't know if they did do it. My parents just didn't pay attention. I have no idea. So it's neither here nor there. What they would have done if they found out about it earlier is they would have put me into like those Forrest Gump braces and probably had fixed the issue at some point. Whether or not we would have done that, I don't know. And so it wasn't until I was out of college at my first personal training job, about 6 months into it, and I would start having like lower abdomen pains. And I'm like, this is weird. Is it nutrition? Is it digestive? What is it? And so I ended up going to 2 different internal medicine doctors to just figure out like, what am I doing? And that kind of is where I started with like the whole like nutrition side of my personal training journey. Cause I'm like, okay, if I'm going to figure out what's bothering me, let's go through an elimination diet. Let's figure it out. And it wasn't until the second doctor I had met with, and he was like, tell me about your workouts. I'm like, what? What do you mean tell me about my workouts? It's like, how do you mean? Like, I know what I'm doing. And he was like, to me, it sounds like it's your hips. So I made a third follow-up appointment with a really awesome doctor in Southern California. And he actually, he's done quite a few of these hip surgeries. He went to Notre Dame, like really awesome, just great doctor, bedside manner, etc. Did the first MRI and was like, hey, your labrums are hanging on by a thread. Like, I am surprised you aren't even walking. What? What do you mean? So getting that news was definitely, it was weird. It was definitely like, hey, you just graduated college. You took a career that is completely opposed to what your degrees mean. And you just found out that you have to have this major hip surgery. And I'm like, woosah, okay, we're doing this. So I basically just immersed myself in what it is, how I could fix it, how I can heal myself, how I can do it both nutritionally, through stretching, through whatever I needed to do. And because of it, it actually made me a better trainer. And I get a lot of clients now that are specific, like ex-gymnasts, ex-cheerleaders, ones that want to focus on better glutes. Because again, the posterior chain and the glutes are a big part of kind of rehabbing this surgery, taking the pressure off the quads, the front part of your posterior, of your just everything anatomically pulling you forward. You want to focus on everything pulling you backwards. So it was definitely hard to take that news at first, but it made me a better trainer and a better coach just in the long run.
Did you have any moments of, I know you're such a strong personality where you're like, no excuses, you don't quit, like you go all in, you go for it, onward and forward. I know you're that kind of person, but everybody has those moments where they're like, oh. So for you personally, going through that whole process, were there any moments of depression or self-doubt? And if so, how did you kind of move past those things to get better?
Oh, totally. I mean, again, I left college. I graduated in 2011, December. And then I started that job in February. And then May, I had taken a management position. And then September or October was actually the surgery. So it was definitely weird to be like, hey, you just started a career and now you're gonna have to put it on hold because again, while you're sleeping, someone else is working. And that's kind of that mentality that I came from. But you have to just, there comes a point where it's like, what is better for the bigger picture? And I have to deal with this a lot with clients that are like, I want to compete right now. And I'm like, awesome, you have this, and this going on. And until these are fixed, we can't compete. So for me, it was really just a lesson in stepping back. It's not over. Slow progress is better than no progress. And it really just allowed me to dig deeper on the anatomy side of things. And I actually was able to get one of my really most prestigious certifications during that time when I had to rehab 3 months of each hip. I was studying and I just learned like, what can I soak up in this moment? And I think that really just kept me off of the sad, like, I'm not really doing this, or, oh, I have to, I can't do this. But what's really great about it is people ask me all the time. They're like, yeah, like how much do you squat? I don't actually. I squat never, like maybe once a month if I squat. And people are like, doesn't make any sense. Your glutes are huge. And I'm like, I know.
And I know that you say it's not genetics, it's not excuses, it's not supplements, it's you. You did this for you. So let's talk a little bit about that because, okay, so we figured out, what the experience was like for you going through reality TV. We now are seeing that, even though you were given kind of a down, you used it to turn that into an up. You got more educated. You found ways to keep going and distract yourself. You're like, well, if I can't do this goal right now,
Exactly.
well, there is something I can do right now to lead me to where I want to go. And so that is to your fitness, your approach basically to fitness, to nutrition, and to health. So let's go into that. Before we start about your routine, I want to hear from your perspective because you're just like a wealth of experience. I've had a few people on here talk about how so many people kind of mesh together, I guess, health and fitness when other people feel like they're two completely different things. Can you elaborate on that? Because I have a lot of listeners who struggle to make time when they're trying to juggle so much, plus going through this whole COVID-19 pandemic. And like you said, going through health issues, everybody's juggling 15 to 20 different balls at any given time. So for you, what is the most common misconception about health and fitness and how people misconstrue the two?
Totally. So for me, here's the thing, like this competitor on show number 10 didn't happen overnight. Like it literally is one habit a week, whether you're going to start with your nutrition, whether you're going to start with your self-talk, whether you're going to start with going to the gym, whatever that is, start small. Because at the end of the day, there's so many times I see people that will have worked with 3 or 4 trainers before me and they get to me and they're like, well, how is this going to be different? And I'm like, it might not be. Let's find out. And you just have to break it down. It's really simple as far as like, okay, my goal is to be this by this day. All right, well, how much water are you drinking per day? Why don't for week 1, you just start with getting 4 liters of water per day. Week 2, let's start by pulling all carbonated or sugary sodas, right? Week 3, let's add in another liter of water, whatever that is. And by the end of the 3rd or 4th week, they now have 4 different habits that they didn't have before that. Whereas previously with the trainer that they've worked with, they've given a plan like, hey, we're going to start this. You're going to be at the gym at 6 a.m. You're going to be doing this. You need this kind of shoe for this work. By day 3, they're like, why would I do this? Like, I'm not trying to be you. And I get that. So at the end of the day, fitness is not a one size fits all. And that's my biggest emphasis and biggest like focus with my clients is like, what works for you doesn't work for me. And what doesn't work for me, it might not work for this person, but we're going to find out what that formula is. And based on my experience, my expertise of working with hundreds of clients, my goal and hopefully is to expedite that process and give you a more simplified edition. And that's really it.
I love it. And the way you're breaking it down for everybody watching and listening, it's like you don't have to immediately change your lifestyle in one day. That is so overwhelming and very hard to commit to. But like you were saying, make one choice, start with that, then the next choice. I think like if you can believe in Santa Claus for 5 years as a kid, you should be able to believe in yourself as an adult for 5 minutes. I think that's what it comes down to.
It's really that. And it's like you see all these people like they want to scroll through Instagram and like, oh my God, like it's a highlight reel. Like you are seeing the finished product of days and years and months of the same repetitive habits. Like my breakfast has been the same for 3 years. Okay, let's be real. The same breakfast for 3 years. Okay, so it's like you just gotta, you gotta figure out what you're willing to, what you want to do, and what you're willing to give up to get to that goal. And not everyone's going to be a competitor. Not everyone's going to be a WWE star. Not everyone's going to be you know, the valedictorian of their class. But if we can just break down the little barriers that we as individuals are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, we can absolutely achieve the goals that we want without the societal pressures of this and your brother's cousin is doing that. Like, who cares what anybody else is doing? Just focus on you.
Yes. Yes, yes. Build a life you don't need to retire from.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, girl. Thank you. The more people that say that on this podcast, I'm hoping it really just sinks and seeps into people's brains.
I love it. I love it.
For better or worse. I love it. You know, routine is everything. Consistency. I hear you say that a lot. Consistency is a lot of people's biggest problems, you know, excuses and lack of consistency. What are some tips that you can give people that are, you know, juggling, whether it's kids or this pandemic, you know, 3 jobs just to pay the bills? What are some small things that people can do to kind of bring wellness back to their lifestyle? You know, like what you were saying with, you know, forget about what everybody else is doing, focus on yourself and just try to keep being a better you. What are some tips based on your experience that you can give people right now?
Specifically like the moms and the parent group, I'll even tap into that because I know I live in a place where it's like a ton of, you know, families and suburbia, and, you know, it's, again, who cares how the moms next to you parent, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. So whatever that means to you, as far as getting X amount of hours per sleep, X amount of meals per day, whatever it is that you need to feel grounded to be able to support and fuel your family, you're the head of your family in theory. Like, you're controlling these little kids that are running amok and things like that. Take a minute, ground yourself, whether that means set your alarm for 15 minutes earlier to be able to sit in peace with your morning tea or your coffee, or, you know, take that Epsom salt bath 2 or 3 days a week to get your silence. Whatever that is, little things like that really do make a difference. And I'm guilty of it. Like, there's days where I was scheduling 10, 12 clients a day, getting into bed at midnight, getting up at 5. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not giving my clients the best version of me. And that is not what they're paying for. So your kids, same thing, your family, your spouse, they're wanting the best version of you. And no husband, no wife is ever going to tell you, like, I'm not okay with you taking 15 minutes for yourself so that you're nicer to me. Like, let's be real.
Yes, spill the tea.
Exactly.
Whatever you guys got to do, but I do think that it all starts with self-talk and kind of just forgiving yourself for whatever past mistakes you've made. If you didn't have a perfect day yesterday, that does not need to affect your today and your future tomorrows, and just start, like what you were saying, with one habit. That sounds so much less overwhelming than, okay, I automatically have to carry around a water jug. I have to start squatting 500 pounds and do an hour worth of cardio like, I can't even keep up with that, and I'm a pro athlete. So it's like, like calm down.
Totally. And that's the thing. It's like, we are our worst and harshest critics. Like, the stuff that, like, I hear my clients say, I'm like, why would you ever talk to you? Like, the way you have to say it is this: would you speak to your child or your future child that way? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, you wouldn't. You know, would you?
So why are you doing it?
Exactly. And we're all living beings. Like, there's an awesome, I forget the exact name of the experiment, but back in the day I read this. It was like a Japanese doctor. He had done a rice study. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but he took 3 different cups of rice. On the one rice, it was like 30 days long, he would say, I love you to the rice. On the one, he would literally turn his back to and ignore. And on the third thing of rice, he would say, I hate you. And after the 30 days, the one that had said, I hate you, had like mold growing in it. The one that was ignored was like grayish and darker hue. And the one that said, I love you, actually had a flower growing out of it. And the moral of the story is, water molecule, like, these are real, we're living particles, we're living beings. So the words that we say resonate, you know, and they have a reverberation effect. So if you're speaking to yourself a certain way, how would somebody of 20 years of negative self-talk versus somebody with 20 years of positive self-talk look in the end? There's a difference, and you just have to keep that in mind.
There is a very big difference. I've had a lot of people say that basically your self-talk is a part of your environment. It's just as important as your diet and your exercise and your sleep routine, because it seeps into everywhere you go, everything you think, everything you say. It all starts with your confidence and your self-talk.
100%.
You know, if you're I didn't understand that until I turned 30. I swear to goodness, I have no problem admitting it. When I turned 30, it was like a light bulb switched. And I was like, oh, ooh, girl, why are you talking to yourself like this?
Exactly.
Like, when I did my gut, yes, I'm like, why am I so nice to other people? And then I'm just rotten to myself inside my own head. I'm like, what? Who is this beast? Like, can we just like lock her up, please? Like, she doesn't need to be here anymore.
No, and that makes total sense. And it's like in a situation where I can use like competing, where it's a solo sport to a certain extent, like, why would I ever want, like in a solo sport, why would I ever want to talk to myself that way? Like when I'm doing something that literally 99% of the population can't do, and I'm sitting here trashing myself, that doesn't make any sense. You can't grow in that kind of environment. So
No.
100%.
Especially when you beat the odds. Like, you weren't supposed to be an athlete after that surgery. I am very aware. I come from like a medical background, and I felt the same way. They found out I had like moderate to severe scoliosis when I was like 13. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, how on earth did you guys like wait until I was 13 to figure this out? Like I got big plans. And I was thinking too, they told me outright, similar to you, they were like, if we had found this earlier, we would have put rods in your spine. And I'm thinking to myself, how on earth can you be a pro athlete if you have rods in your spine? They're like, you're not going to have flexibility, you're not going to play sports. And I'm like, how am I supposed to be a pro wrestler if I can't play sports? Like, well, maybe it's a good thing that they didn't find this out, but
I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. Like my journey was supposed to be exactly the way it was. Like it just was, and I'm cool with it.
Yes, any opportunity that you missed out on or you didn't get, it just simply means it wasn't your opportunity. I think a lot of people get stuck on that, like, oh, I placed second in this competition instead of first. Well, maybe it wasn't your time to be first place, or, I didn't get that WWE contract. Maybe it wasn't your time. Maybe that other person's time is now, but you didn't see their level 1 through 100. You're only seeing them succeed at level 100. You don't know what they did to get from A to Z. And I think that's a big thing. So when people look at you and they see all the success you've had, they see that you have, you've been with your husband now for 8 years. You guys co-run a company together that you guys founded. You guys compete. Like you said, you're on your 10th competition. You've won competitions which people dream of. You've gone to many different places. I think like Pennsylvania, Colorado, LA, Miami. You've done all kinds of traveling. You've done amazing things. What's next for you personally, and how important has your husband been for you during this journey for you, basically?
Well, what's next? I have my next show in 7 weeks, and so this is the beginning of my career, actually. So this will determine my placing here will determine whether or not I'm actually entered into the IFBB Pro League or not. So I'm excited about that. Nick is, well, we're both like the competitors, so that's easy. But what's next for us? Really, my focus has been this pro card for literally like 3.5 years, just focusing, pivoting, shifting. I've done 3 different categories before settling into the category that I'm in now. And just to give your listeners and viewers an idea, like a background of that, in bodybuilding, there's several different categories that you can either compete in, whether it's bikini, whether it's figure, whether it's wellness, whether it's physique. They all have different categories as far as what you're supposed to look like, symmetry, shape, conditioning. So I'm in the wellness division. Having said that, this is the first year that wellness is in America. It's been in the world for probably over 7 or 8 years now. So this is like the hottest year for it. And of course, COVID was like, no, we're going to halt the brakes, pump the brakes on this one. But no, for us, it's really just about building our fitness brand together. His name's Nick and our company's name is Fit to Nick. So it's super easy to remember. And we just really love what we do. I'm constantly learning. I get at least 1 to 2 new certifications a year, just because if you're not learning, other competitors are. Competitors meaning your business competitors, not like actual competitors. Your competitors are. And for me, it's like, if I have a question about something, I'm going to do the research. And if it's easier for me to do the research and get that certification to be well versed in it versus outsourcing what I can do, then I would, of course, take on that risk and take on that role for my clients. And then I'm sure we'll have kids at some point, but probably not for another 2 years or so. I'm not done with competing yet.
Has having that sort of stable support system really kind of helped you in a sense? Like you said, you both are competitors, you both co-own a business, you both have so much. I think he has more than 15 years worth of experience on his own. So has he, been a really good source of positivity and motivation for you? How important has, that been for you?
Oh, totally. We actually met, of course, in the gym. We were both managers in the same company for different locations. We met at a manager's meeting. So for me, I never envisioned that I never really thought about getting married. It was, sure, if it happened, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't wait to grow up and get married. Like, this is my end goal. Like, I didn't care. So finding somebody who had the same interests, same damn name, no weird quirks about them, and it works. And we're both workaholics. We both are really passionate about what we do. I mean, this is literally what we do 7 days a week, and we eat, live, dream, believe in fitness. And so you know, it's really great because we are cut from the same cloth. We both work really hard, you know, and I really couldn't see myself with anybody who wasn't like him or wasn't him. And, you know, it's great. It works really good.
I can tell, like, you have just happiness radiating from you. That's amazing to hear.
Oh, thank you.
So let's backtrack a little bit. I met you in 2015. So to give everybody a brief story, I met this badass chick who's you're pretty much wearing exactly what you're wearing now. That's so you.
Totally.
I met Nikki, guys, at a WWE tryout at the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. And I remember just being so, I don't know, I just thought you were so amazing because I was like, here's this chick, she's never wrestled before, and she was just giving this crazy business of crazy shizit her all. Like, I saw you doing the drop downs, I saw you running the ropes for the first time, I saw you trying to take your first bumps wearing a helmet that they made like the newer people wear. Like, I saw you cutting a promo and all this stuff, and it's crazy. And to fast forward just to see all the amazing things that you have been able to accomplish, I think so many people will be just so inspired by your journey because you're not just accepting what is, like, you're going after all the things that you want on your terms, the way you feel they should be done. I think more people need to have that sort of guts and self-love and gumption, you know, because I mean, you went from being a WWE prospect who had never wrestled a day in her life. I don't think you honestly knew what you were in for those 3 days.
Let me tell you something, like, to this day, for all the stuff that I have done, my drive home from Orlando to Miami, I've never been more sore in my entire life. Like, I remember getting off at the rest stop and be like, I have to go to the bathroom now. Like, how do I do, like, where do I, like, how am I going to do this? But, you know, again, opportunity, like, sure, I'm athletic. I would have figured it out. And there was things that were like way harder than that should have been. But I wasn't going to let my fear of failing be the reason why I didn't go try out. Like, I got to meet so many cool people from that. You is one of them. Rachel Ellering was another. Like, the other girls that, like, I still keep in touch with, like, through Instagram and so on and so forth. That's a one-time life experience, you know, just like the Bad Girls Club, one-off experience. And for me, whether I chose to go, didn't choose to go, like, I was going to give it 110%. And I did. And it was a really fun experience and a really good time. And, you know, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it or what I wanted to do from there, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I didn't want the reason why I didn't go down that road be because I didn't show up. I showed up. I gave 100%. Now it's my choice to determine what I want to do at that point. And to your point, if more people just lived and had ownership of their life instead of being a corporate robot, hey, I'm going to 9 to 5. What do you want to do? What do you want to do every day that would make you happy? What is that? Do it.
Do it. Absolutely. Taking no risks at all is the biggest risk you can take in life. Like, why not try and not be afraid to suck at something new? And that's exactly what you did. You went after something you had never done before in a crazy world where you got to fall on purpose and take all these like heavy hitting shots and drop down for push-ups as punishment.
Oh my God, it was so bad. I remember just the burpees on day 3. I was like, again.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember being.
I took 3 Epsom salt baths that entire weekend, like every day the tryouts were over, and I was still at the store.
Shut up. Oh my gosh. This is so funny. Okay, guys, just to give you guys a background, like at that time, WWE wasn't really announcing like they are today, who gets brought in for a tryout, right? So we had Nikki there, we had Rachel Ellering there, we had Giselle Shaw, we had Ember Moon, we had Jessica Havoc, we had Tommaso Ciampa, we had Drew Gulak, we had an amazing Australian tag team. We had so many people, right? And it was crazy because I don't know if you remember this, but the group kept getting in trouble because some people weren't cheering for everybody. And so every time we had to drop down and do like 25 to 50 push-ups. And I'm like, can you people just cheer?
Yes, I remember vividly. Like, there's very few things, like, I don't remember things on a daily basis. I remember every day of that tryout. Like, I remember.
Girl, this will sound hilarious, or at least to me it does, but right before that tryout where I met you guys is when I found out I had lung disease. And I remember I was like, I have restrictive lung disease. Like, what does that mean? And why can't I breathe? Like, oh, it's okay. If I just like ignore it, it'll go away. Yeah, guys, don't do that.
Yeah, no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I remember meeting you because your new outfit was not clipping and you had like done a match, and I was like, oh my God, this poor girl, like don't show a nip. come on. Like, I just felt so badly. And I'm like, she's really good. She's going through the reason why it doesn't happen.
Yeah, luckily I thoroughly taped myself in, so that will never be an issue. But yeah, my gear broke, and I was heartbroken because that was the first day I was getting to wear it. I had it made specifically for that tryout. It was brand new. I was devastated. But I remember thinking to myself, oh wow, I'm so proud. Like, I just got diagnosed with restrictive lung disease, and I did every single push up with proper form without going to my knees. I was like, that is probably my biggest accomplishment in this entire
No, but it's like little things like that that you look back on and you're like, hey, what's your experience?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, on the days that we want to complain about something, it's like, or not even complain, like, just when you're having that day and then you like see somebody in a wheelchair drive, you know, walk by the crosswalk and you're like, wow, I have no problems. Like, shut your mouth.
Yes, like people, like I think people, it's less about finding the time and more about finding the motivation. Like, we all have the same 24 hours. How you choose to use it is the only thing that differs from person to person. You know, I recently saw on Facebook this story about an 80-year-old woman, and I was like, this 80-year-old woman has better biceps, triceps, and delt than 3/4 of the people in wrestling. So what are we doing wrong that this lady is doing right and she's 80 years old? We do not have any excuses.
You know, it's true. And it's just, it's all perspective. And, you know, again, like everyone, you know, it's your priority shift. Like, you know, when I become a mother at that point, like, I'm not going to care about what my body fat percentage is because it's a different season of my life. And another quote that I really love to go by is, no flower is in bloom year round, right? There's time to plant,
Yes.
there's time to grow, there's time to shed your leaves, there's times to flourish and be fancy. Like, there's all these different things. And that's our journey. Not every single person is going to be stage lean or stage ready every minute of every day, but the journey is where you learn the things about yourself. Like, and I know it sounds silly, but like, show day is my least favorite day of the entire process because, okay, you're there, you get glammed up, that's your final product. What I like is the process, week by week, seeing the changes, seeing how, like, what's going on, what do we do differently, like doing the like science experiment behind the scenes. And, you know, it's just, life's too short to just be stagnant and not growing, not changing, not trying new things. I don't know. That's how I feel.
So what was it like for you kind of coming into this world of pro wrestling without any sort of expectation and then going through this 3-day process where you had to cut a promo for the first time, you had to take bumps and run the ropes and watch people wrestle and kind of figure out this whole new sort of world? What was that journey like for you?
Definitely fun. It's been like, I remember it was just kind of exhilarating because you don't really do stuff like that when you're like, unless you're like a kid. When you're an adult in your 20s, like, your day is pretty standard. Like, you have your jobs, you have this, you go to the gym, you do whatever. So for me, that weekend was just more about like, find your inner kid. Like, what would you do? Like, what would you do if you were on TV right in this moment? Like, how would you sell this? How would you, you know, whatever. And aside from that, like, the people that I met, they were so nice. Like, there was not one bad attitude that I had run into from the guys or the girls. Just everyone was really supportive, that little community, which was really nice. And yeah, I had fun. Like, I probably looked like the biggest goon with my helmet and like mouth guard, but I didn't care. I was like, what are you gonna do? Like, it doesn't get better than this.
No, that experience, after you finish it, you're just like, I did that and
Yeah.
I killed it. Yes.
Exactly.
Like, this was designed for you to fail. And when you don't fail, it's the most amazing feeling. You're like, I did this, and only a select amount of people in the world get to experience that opportunity. So yeah, it's kind of like a
Totally. No, it was super cool. I just remember being like, even as sore as I was driving home, like, I was just smiling. I was like, this was really fun. Like, I got to do this. And like, every once in a while, the Facebook notifications from like back then will pop up and it's like, 3 weeks out, diva mode. And I'm like, yes, I did that.
Is that something you would think of doing again?
You know, I don't know. I never really put some time into it, but I'm not against it. I'm not for it. Again, so much has changed since 2015 within the organization itself. Like, I think again, my opinion doesn't matter relative to WWE, but I think now it's more manageable for those newer athletes that are coming in, just because of the split and, you know, so on and so forth. But a plus with NXT and all the opportunities that they give, you know, at the Performance Center. So I'll never say no, because never say never. But you know, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting prospect, but I think what also people are trying to figure out now is this new norm where the WWE is potentially limiting access to third-party platforms. So basically, superstars is Twitch, their cameos, maybe even possibly extending that to all of the rest of their platforms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on right now that makes it very different from just even 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, that seems like a long time, but it's really more of a blink of an eye.
Seriously, like when you said 2015, I'm like, yeah, it was 5 years ago, but like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm reversing. Like, I'm 32 years old. I'm like, what? Like, how? My husband's 38. We're like, he's like, I'm almost full. He's gonna be 38 this month or next month. He's like, I'm almost 40. I'm like, no, you're still 37. It's fine.
It's fine. I would not want to go back to my 20s. I had a coffin cake and it said, Taylor, here lies your 20s when I turned 30. And it was epic. It was amazing. I was like, yes, God, bury that stuff. Like, I'm ready to be 30. I think more people need to be excited about their 30s and 40s because you're not starting from scratch anymore. You have a recipe and you've already made most of your stupid mistakes. So now it's time to like live that best you and like go after everything, in my opinion.
100%. Like, and again, age is just a number. Like, it's just crazy. Like, as long as you take care of yourself, you can do so much, whether, you know, it's career related, whether it's fitness related, whether it's changing careers. I mean, there's so much that can happen. I don't ever want to look back when I'm 100 years old, like, I should have done that. Nope. That's why I did everything that I did. I have no regrets. I will never take anything back as far as the experiences that I've had, the cities that I've lived in. I knew I wanted to live in California. I moved to California, wanted to live in Miami, lived in Miami, wanted to live in Denver. Here I am. Like, just here we are. So I don't know. I think the first step in anything that you do is 100% belief in yourself. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, who is? It's no one else's responsibility, just you.
Yes, the kid you were deserves your absolute 100% as the adult that they made way for you to become. 100%. Be the adult you needed as a kid. No regrets.
Exactly. I like that. Actually. I like that a lot.
You can keep it. There you go. I love that. I say it all the time. It's like, I don't know about everybody else, but like the biggest thing for me was like, you know, I want to be proud of the human being that I'm turning into out in this world. You know, I don't want to sell my integrity to fulfill any dream that I had as a child. And I want to look back subliminally enough to tell the little kid that I was like, hey, I got you, girl, and we're going to do some epic shizit. Just you wait.
Exactly.
I think that's the best way to live.
100%. No, and I'm super into energy and like numerology and like all that stuff. So for me, it's like, yeah, everything happens for a reason. You know, hints of our future, hints of our past, like all of it is connected. And I just feel like in order for you to really truly live your best life, like obviously you need to be in the present. You know, we can't constantly like, oh, if I only had this much money, we could get here. Oh, if I lived here, I could get here. No, like if you can't make what you have in your circumstances work right now, granted, they might not be the best or they're not ideal, but you can make the best of it and get something out of that, you know? And it's just, if more people just took the time to like, hey, Instagram and social media doesn't matter. My situation matters. What is next? And again, it starts those little habits. You know, I hate my job. Okay, cool. Let's change it. What are you good at? What's your skills? What do you want to do? Okay, great. Let's backtrack. Let's find that out. Let's now apply for jobs. Like whatever it is, being stuck in a job for 30 years that you're not happy about is a lot more difficult than going back to school or getting a certification or changing gears and going into a career that you are passionate about, maybe making less money, but time is money and you're going to get more time to do what you want to do. So, you know, there's an answer for everything. You just got to find it.
Yes, out of every negative, if you look hard enough, there's definitely a positive. And I think that I'm so glad that you brought that up because that was something I was going to ask you later, is I find on social media or in person and networking, everybody is allowing their timelines to be rushed. We live in a social media world and everybody's trying to live up to these social media expectations of when you should get married, who you should get married to, how much money you should make, what jobs are defined as successful. Happiness only looks like this if you have 10,000 likes, and you have to be a business owner, and you have to have kids so you can post about them on social media. And everybody's just trying to rush their timelines. And it's like, well, are you going to be happy that way? Like, are you defining happiness and success for yourself? Like, why get married if and when you want to, buy the house if you want to. I loved what you said. Like, if you don't like your job, find something else. If you're not applying to 50 jobs a day to find something that you love, then what are you doing? Like, right. You're going to be stuck there, but you're not a tree with roots stuck in the ground. So you can pick yourself up and go anytime you want to. Exactly. So why aren't you?
Yeah. And you know, and I see a lot, but like, cause again, I come to people, like people come to me during a crossroads, like they're either just going through a breakup, they're about to go through a breakup. There's a change that, like, I always get clients that are going to have a massive change, a promotion, a demotion, whatever it is. And they always end up in my life. And it's just about regrounding them and being like, hey, remember who you are. Like, wake up. Like, who are you? Like, you're good at this, this, and this. And you need to get back to that. You know, you might have been spoken down to for the last 7 years of your marriage, but that's not the person you really are. Like, believe in yourself. And I just feel like with social media, it's like, it's such a scam. And I always tell people, because people will message me and be like, well, how tall are you? How that? I'm like, there's a reason why none of my posts actually have my stats, meaning height, weight, body fat. Hardly ever. There's maybe like 3 posts that are on social media, and that will be like start to finish, because it doesn't matter. My comparisons, my numbers do not matter to Joe Schmo or, you know, Sally down the street. It doesn't matter, because our formulas are all different. So I think people just need to back off comparing. Like, pretend for a day if social media didn't exist, would you still go to the pumpkin patch with your friends and take pictures? Half of them would say no. Would you still go to the gym and do your little selfie? Half of them would say no. Like, what is it to you that makes your life complete minus social media? Because social media is a tool. Like, we can use it to our advantage or to our disadvantage. It doesn't matter. But you will never see me scrolling upon people like, oh my God, I wish I looked like that. I don't care who's showing up to my competitions. Like, I really don't. Like, the surprise me. Like, it would be better that way.
I love that. Comparison is like drinking poison, guys. And that's basically what Nikki's saying. You know, when you're comparing yourself to other people's circumstances, what you're basically doing is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. Poison doesn't work that way. You die a slow and painful death, and those people that you're comparing yourselves to don't give a crap, and they keep moving on, moving forward, doing what they're doing because they don't care.
And, you know, and again, social media isn't bad, but you have to know how to use it. Like, there are people, for example, in my situation, there are wellness competitors that were competing long before I was competing, because the wellness division was active around the world. And sure, I use those girls as models of, okay, that's what they're looking for. But I'm not sitting here idolizing and drooling, oh my God, if only my waist was 1 inch smaller, or oh, my glutes were this much big. Who cares? Like, if that's what your day is focused around, we need some new hobbies, new literature, new reading material, like whatever. Get out there, see the sun.
There's always something to learn. There's always something you can do better to keep going forward. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Like we could weigh the exact same amount. It doesn't matter, because it would look completely different.
Totally.
And I see that happen in the wrestling industry all the time. People that are like 130 pounds. And I was one of those people thinking I'm fat. And it's like, well, I'm probably not fat if I'm 5'7" and 130. And that's a very common weight that a lot of my coworkers used to think they were fat. And it's like, no, you're beautiful. Exactly. Like, just because you don't look like that person's body, like, that person isn't you. They're like 3 inches taller than you, or their body structure is just completely different. Their bone density is for like,
no, but really, these are all valid points. And still to this day, I'll get women that are like, I just want to be 127. And I'm like, what, if you don't mind me asking, Susan, what is 127? Like, where did that number? Well, when I was a senior, I'm like, you're 45 years after being a senior in high school. Do you know what that sounds like on paper? That 45 years ago, you were a certain weight, and that's what you're trying to get back to. Because nothing's changed, right? Your hormones, your food, what you drink, how you eat, what you sleep. Come on. It's like common sense. But again, that's not what is portrayed on social media. That's not what's portrayed in the news. That's not mainstream. It's, okay, if you love yourself, you're self-centered. If you don't like yourself, something's wrong with you. Like, what?
Such terrible logic. Gosh, like, people are supposed to grow into your bodies, guys. That's what growing older and getting life experience is all about. Like, figuring who you are, what your needs are. What you needed as a 17-year-old is probably not what you need as a 35, 45, 55-year-old.
And that's one of the biggest things I love about competing is that I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly evolving. I remember going to my first show and being so nervous, like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in a bikini backstage. Like, these women look perfect in pictures. Girl, I have never seen more hernias, stretch marks, surgery marks, things that I never thought I would see backstage. And just looking at these people going, they're average, just like me. We're average. Like, I have stretch marks. Like, it's normal. Like, I've hit surgery scars. It's totally normal. And like, the more that people can like embrace who they really meant to be, the less they'll care about the other crap. That just doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Yes. Okay. The more people that say this, I hope the more people will listen. Like, a six pack of abs is not going to make your man be loyal to you or love you more. It's just a six pack of abs. And ladies, you can pile on the makeup on your face to make yourself look pretty on the outside, but you can't swallow enough lipstick to make yourself pretty on the inside. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
Life does not work that way.
No, and it's like your vibe attracts your tribe. So like, it's how you are to people is what you're going to bring back. Like, if you ever see a person in a group that's like, oh my God, I don't know why my friends are so dramatic. It's you, honey. You're the dramatic one. That's why all your friends are psycho. It's like, you need to step back, figure out what it is about your energy that you're attracting continuously that is constantly setting you up for failure or anger or disbelief, you know? And again, I work with a lot of people, so I see a lot of human behavior and patterns, and you know, psychology was actually my initial major, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this for a living. I need to go into business. So we're going to business.
So, your education, is that mostly in business and marketing, or did you kind of expand that?
So I double majored in marketing and management because I always knew that going into like having a business background would help you regardless of where you went, whether it was fitness or it was a 9 to 5, whatever that was. I knew I needed that skill set. And I like the psychology behind why people do what they do. So especially with marketing, like, how are you marketing to certain people, certain age groups? You know, what's on the shelf at a grocery store is at a certain eye level for a 6-year-old versus, you know, an adult. You know, little things like that determine our behavior patterns and what we purchase and what we buy. So for me, having that business background coupled with my fitness passion, I was like, well, I'll probably own my own business at some day, but let's start with a trainer. And got one certification, loved it. And for me, it's constantly about the question, why? Like, why is this run this way? Why is this way? And if I can constantly find that answer through my own research, through my own certifications, through my own experience, then I'm really winning at the end of the day. Like, you ever see that one old person that you know from when you were a kid that knew so much about everything, and you're like, how do you, like, you're that person I called, like, you just knew. I want to be that person because I don't ever want to look back and be like, oh, I didn't just know how to do it, so I just didn't. What? No, I'm going to do it.
With all the experience that you've gained over many years, what would you say are some of the biggest fads that you wish people would just quit today and stop worrying about and stop doing? Because I think a lot of people gravitate to those quick fixes or stuff that people say is good but isn't actually good. Like, I remember bulletproof coffee or bullet coffee or whatever is like so huge for like a hot minute, or the keto diet or certain exercises. What are some top fads that you wish as a professional that people would just forget ever existed?
You know, first and foremost, I think the biggest fad, like, I know it's probably not like a fad, is like, stop comparing to social media. Like, just stop. Like, that's my biggest pet peeve. It's like, you don't see what really goes on behind the scenes. You don't see the work put in. You're seeing the final product, the finished product. That's my biggest thing. The second thing would be, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. So no, you're not going to get the body of your dream in a 30-day squat challenge. Sorry, I'll say it. It just is what it is. Sure, you're getting your body moving and you're taking a step in the right direction, but you are not going to get a competitor level physique by doing 30-day squats with bands at home. You're not. Number 3, diets will always be diets. I actually never use the word diet because it irritates me, the first 3 letters of the word die, and as soon as you hear diet, it's like, oh my God, I'm restricted. No, you're on a meal plan. You're on a nutritional plan that supports your existence in this life. Are you trying to add more muscle, lean? Are you trying to lose some body fat? Are you trying to put on some extra pounds so that when you go into pregnancy, you have more nutrients to pull from? Whatever that is, like, your nutrition should be custom to you, and you're not going to find it for $30 on Instagram by a coach with 100,000 followers. It's not going to work that way. Like, get with somebody with education. The other big thing, kind of piggybacking off of that, would be, you get what you pay for. Like, health and wellness is an investment. You know, when you think about the hours spent in building Google or building Amazon, they didn't work at that for an hour a day. They were in the garage for hours a day, 24 hours a day, getting their business up and running. If you put that same energy into your health, into your wellness, I guarantee you that you're going to get your results. But that's the thing. It's people want to, oh, I'm not going to get this quick fix. Your body's been a certain way for however many weeks, months, days, years. It's not going to change overnight. You know, and if you dislike something about your body for 10 years, a year of progress is going to take 1/10 of that hate away. So you have to give yourself some grace with that, and just know you're getting what you pay for. So expect it to be an investment, and just know it's going to require a lot of time. And if you're that serious about it, you'll get there.
What can you tell people that either can't afford a gym membership right now, can't afford coaching, and they have to try to do stuff from home? What are some of your pro tips for people that need to work at home? Because a lot of my listeners, they're trying to juggle so much. They're trying to homeschool kids, and that's a whole other mess. They're trying to put food on the table, trying to work 3 jobs, like life's rough. You got to be tough. So what can you tell these people, considering the fact that you don't squat? What can they do without needing a gym membership?
Totally. I don't know how easy it is to find dumbbells, because during COVID, it was like, hey, one dumbbell is like $49.99, but it'll be here in 7 months. First and foremost, set yourself up on a schedule. Like, pick the days that you're going to do something. Is that 3 days for you? Is that 5 days for you? What is that number to you? It doesn't need to be 6 because the person on Instagram said it was 6. Find that sweet spot. From there, make your schedule around that. Just like you plan your kids' homework and your kids' school or your personal appointments, you have to schedule your workouts in there. Give yourself that time. If you don't put it in your calendar, it's not going to happen. I'm guilty of that myself. It has to happen. From there, my next biggest thing would be, bookmark a couple of people that you really like to see, or that put out like really good educated content, not just like, look what I did on a TRX and a Bosu with one arm yesterday. Like, put stuff out there that is really going to kind of give you that structure. And then within that, just consistency, with the days that you've picked, with the ideas that you want to do. Maybe one day you're doing an upper body day, one day you're doing a lower body day, and maybe one day you're doing a core and a cardio day. Whatever that split looks like to you, focus on that. Do your little research, do your homework behind that. Because again, free is free. We never value anything that's free because it's what it was. We didn't have to work for it. But if we had to spend time and energy into, okay, that YouTube person, I really liked what they did on this workout day, or, oh, I really like that nutrition tip that this person gave. If you're doing that research, you're going to spend that hour or whatever time you've allocated towards your workouts, and you're going to value it. And you're going to feel like you did something behind that. So, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Find what works for you. Give yourself that time, that space, that grace. Grab some water bottles. I had a client that I've been training for 6 months during COVID through FaceTime. She's had a water bottle, like a gallon water bottle. She had a stability ball. She had some ankle weights, and she had a mat. And not one workout, and twice a week that we've been seeing each other over 6 months time, 33 weeks to be exact, has been the same. So there are ways of doing it, and there's ways of going around it, but you have to want it. No one else can want your goals more than you want them for yourself.
What are some things that people can use around their house? Like you just said, a 1 gallon water jug and some ankle weights. What are some things that people can use around their house if they can't even get that stuff right now?
I think cans are great. I think cans are heavy enough. You can do a lot of stuff with cans. You can throw them into a backpack. You can make them for a backloaded squat. You can use them for shoulder press, and you put them into a duffel bag. I mean, that's a big thing. I know a lot of people have been really gung-ho about like sandbags, because sand is easy to acquire, and they can, bags of rice. I know you can get like massive 30-pound bags of rice, which are another really cool thing. Trying to think of what else. We pretty much have so much stuff in our house. Like, I'm looking at my bench of like equipment.
You're like,
Bands are a great way. There's several different sites that have them. If you don't have them, if you don't know them, message me. I will send you them directly. But bands are great to have just because you can set them up anywhere. A TRX is a great tool to have in your house as well. Space saver, so you don't have to worry about like all this crap. Yeah, I love bands. They work.
I also love bands. They're great for pretty much strength training, workouts, physical therapy. Oh, I love bands. Tell us, what are alternatives to people doing squats? Because I see the squat challenge for people, they market the squat challenge and everything towards people that are just trying to get into fitness. And I feel like that's targeted, and it's such a valley of misinformation. So I want people to hear it from you. What are alternatives to squats, so people stop thinking, like you said, they'll get that crazy body just doing the squat challenge?
A couple things. Again, I'm going to assume that most people that are doing these squat challenges are like, oh, I want to tone my legs, I want to tone my butt. Well, in a case of modern society where somebody is sitting the majority of their day and their glutes and their hamstrings are turned off for the majority of their day, throwing someone into a squat position is not targeting their glutes and hamstrings. It's adding to the tighter hip flexors. It's adding to more quads. So you ever hear somebody, oh my God, when I do squats, my legs get bigger. Yes, honey, because nothing is firing back there. So for me, strip down that compound movement. What are you doing in that multi-joint movement? Well, we're activating the glutes, should be, hypothetically speaking, activating the glutes, hamstrings, quads, calves, so on and so forth. Well, For me, I love band work. I do a ton of band work, whether it's standing kickbacks, whether it's hydrants, the knees out to the side, whether it's clams, laying on your side. God, what else do I do? Single leg. I love single leg stuff because I have two different hips, even though my hips are surgically repaired. One hip is kind of externally rotated. So if I were to actually do a squat in a proper way, one foot would have to be dead 90 degrees and the other one would have to be slightly turned out. So I do a lot of single leg stuff.
Same way.
Yes. So I do a lot of single leg stuff using like a single leg deadlift, stretching out our hamstrings, firing our glutes. Anything like isolation training on the posterior chain is going to be good. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know, two things that are going to really change an exercise: time under tension, how much time you're pushing onto that weight or whatever you're doing, and then the weight that you're doing. Those two things, you can change an entire year of programming by those two variables. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, kickbacks work, change the tempo. Maybe the first week you're doing 1 second of a hold. The second week you're doing a 3-second hold. Maybe week 3 you're doing 5 seconds. And then before you know it, you've now added, time under tension, glutes that are growing, and you're feeling that lower back pain go away from just those modifications.
Yes. Okay. I hope that the wrestlers watching and or listening were really paying attention to that, because I know y'all got that back pain. Yes, we know. Now, you are a co-founder of Fit to Nick. So that is you and your husband's just all around company. You guys approach health, wellness, lifestyle, and fitness. And you guys aren't just targeting people that want to be bodybuilders and or people that want to professionally compete. You are a business for everyone: male, female, married, single, kids, no kids, 70 years old, 17 years old, doesn't matter. You are a one-stop shop. So tell us exactly what Fit to Nick is like, and how your approach differs from everybody else's out there, because everybody likes to claim that I'm a personal trainer, I'm this, I'm that, and it's kind of like they all preach the same, but I know you guys are different, so I want people to hear about it.
For us, it's a real, like, we were joking when we were coming up with the slogan. Like, our slogan is "Turn yourself on." Like, if you are training, if you're getting in shape, if you're doing anything fitness related, it should be for you. As much as my husband, benefits from me looking good, I'm not in shape because of him. I'm in shape because I want to look a certain way. And that's my goal on life. So for us, it's really about, like, there is no one size fits all to fitness. Everything has to be very custom. If you're not getting that customized attention, like, I laugh because it's snowing outside, but like, we're all like snowflakes. We don't have the same everything of going on. We might have similarities in our genetics or our blood type or whatever, but specific allergies, injuries, repairs, what side of the bed you sleep on, what you do for work, like, all of these things add up. So for us, it's really about customizing a plan to a person, generally lifestyle. In fact, we don't even pitch that we train competitors, because I like lifestyle clients. I think that the average person is so much more interesting than a standard competitor. Sorry, guys. It's just, I like working with people, or we like working with people that are just trying to better their life. And what really gets us is when they have that aha moment, like, oh my God, I haven't felt this since this, or, oh my God, is that why this was happening because of this? And so for us, it's really just a science-based approach to making sure our clients are well. Life has no off season, and that's what we really drive, focus on, and really want to weigh in on, is that life has no off season. So what you're doing right now is for a bigger picture, not, oh, cool, we're going to lose 10 pounds and it's going to come back. That's not success. That's a fail. Mm-hmm. So we want you to be successful for life.
Yeah, that's like that trap that people fall into with all of these different startup companies and teas and, detoxes. Like, oh, you'll lose 5 pounds fast. It's like, okay, that 5 pounds is probably just water, guys, and that's going to come right back. Like,
exactly. Like, it's just, but again, it's like, we laugh at this, but there's people out there that are being swayed by this marketing. And I'm like, it's got to come full circle at some point. I mean, I'll be here.
Yeah, you're like, Fit to Nick will still be here, guys. What is kind of one of your biggest, I guess I like people to be candid, because like I was telling you, the whole point of this podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, is to help more people get in on tough conversations so that we can all be a part of someone else's survival guide someday. Those times in our lives when we're trying to basically achieve epic shizit and we're like, wow, I could really use some guidance right now. I could really use a guiding hand and some help, like, wow. And then you have to go through it alone and kind of figure it out, good or bad, triumph or fail, and get back up again and do it again and do it better to succeed, right? So what has been one of the biggest failures that you experienced in life, and how did you get through it to come up better on the other side? Like, what did it teach you?
Oh man, I think a lot of people know this about me, but I haven't made some formal announcement about it. But actually, when we were moving from Miami to Colorado back in April of 2018, so almost 2 years ago, I was middle of the contest prep. I was going to compete in June or July that year. The moving company actually stole everything that we owned, and I didn't talk about it. It didn't matter.
Oh my, how does that even happen?
It's a long story, but they stole everything we owned, and we're here in Colorado waiting for our stuff, our empty apartment. We're just like, okay, it's 3 weeks now. Okay. And they never showed. And obviously there was conversation back and forth for that. And not one workout was skipped. Not one meal was skipped. Not one issue with work was changed. My job didn't even know, because I was starting a new job. I was going to be that person that was starting a new job. Like, oh, I needed special attention because this happened, But it really just boils down to, like, what is your greater purpose? What is your goal? Like, what are you on pace for that you spring out of bed to make sure it happens every single day? And for me, it happened to be competing that year. And competing has gotten me through so many situations like that. Like, I mean, we had a hurricane evacuation, same thing. I was in the middle of a contest prep, not sure if we'd come back to our home when we were living in Miami. So your perspective shifts when you simplify your life and you really just hone in on what's important to you. The drama with such and such friend, family, cousin, it doesn't matter. What is in your initial space and your immediate space is the most important thing. You have to protect that. Those people are energy vampires. They want to see you fail. They want to see you not be good at it. And when you can sit there and be like, yeah, I still took second at my show after going through a move and had none of my shit hockey, I still made it happen.
Boom, mic drop.
So that was a hard time.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, you got to bet on yourself. You got to kind of push through everything and learn to be your own hype person, your own best friend, your own motivator. When times are quiet, you have to learn how to keep yourself and be your own audience, basically. I love that.
And protect yourself. Like, I don't share with the world what my goals are. Yeah, people know and things like that. But like, the more people that know about what your plan is, the more opportunity your plan has to fail. And keep it quiet. Keep it quiet.
Yes, people do not need to know 100% of your life. Live 95% for you on the DL and only put out 5% out there.
Exactly. And again, another Japanese reference. I'm all about the Japan right now. It says the Japanese say you have three faces: one that you show to the world, one that you show to your family, and one that you show friends and family, and then one that you show to yourself. And that one that you show to yourself that's for you to know. That's your relationship with yourself. And you can have the craziest, wildest dreams, and there's going to be one person out there that's going to try to derail you from that. Don't let them.
No, there's always going to be people that are riding with you, but that does not mean that they're for you. Those are not your people. Exactly. Don't let them kind of, I loved this quote that I saw on Instagram, and then magically it was all over all my timelines on all my platforms, and it was amazing. It was like, be the CEO of your life. Hire, fire, and promote as necessary. And I was like, yes. Yes, 100%. All about that.
It's true. And it's again, as we get older, and I don't know if it's a shift in what age that we turn or what number that is or what event that it happens. After that whole situation with the move, it was I have no I have no time. My time is limited. I have to make sure that I'm making enough money to get all my stuff back. Just little things that you shift your mentality for. And you have to protect your life, your space, your energy. Don't give people the time that they don't deserve. And only surround yourself with good people on your journey, especially if you're embarking on a fitness journey or a school journey or whatever journey that is. Only keep people that are going to be your hype people, because we don't need those negative Nancys in our life.
No, they always, I've heard this a lot in my life. The pessimist and the optimist all have a role. The optimist is the one that built the airplane. The pessimist is the one that built parachutes. The realist is the one that realized the value of both. Exactly. So I always really loved that. So we know that you have been on reality TV. We know you had a tryout with the WWE. We know that you played varsity soccer. You're on your 10th fitness competition. You have placed in several. You are the co-CEO of a company. You played lingerie football. We know that you can't sing, so thank you for that. What was one of which one in particularly was the craziest that you embarked on and when it was finished, you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that. That was crazy.
I don't even know. I feel what was the craziest? Honestly, and it sounds not that crazy, but to me, it was I was too afraid to go to college in California. So I was like, oh, I'll come to college in Colorado. It's a halfway point. Not really, but it is. The craziest thing is that when I was done with school, I literally packed my car and was I'm moving to LA. I have no job set up. I'm gonna find one in fitness and I'm gonna make it work. And I did. I was terrified, but I just knew if I didn't leave New Jersey when I did, because that's where I'm originally from, if I didn't leave New Jersey when I did and traveled to Denver, traveled to Colorado, went to Miami, I would never have done that. And so for me, I really just think going to the West Coast as a newbie out of college, hi, I'm here to work. I've never been a trainer, ended up being trainer of the month, my first month, second month, and third month of my job. I was like, we're doing this. And then was promoted on my fourth month. I was like, we're going to do this. So that was the craziest thing, was moving to California from New Jersey as a little, Guidette coming from the East Coast.
You are like a sister from another mister for me right now. I did the same thing in my own way. I drove from Mass. I just knew that if I did not leave the East Coast, I was not going to make it in wrestling the way I wanted to. So I packed up my little Ford Focus with my cat, drove through a tropical storm, and went from Massachusetts down and across to Louisville, Kentucky, and I set up shop. And it was just so crazy. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't know, I'd never met the people that I was going to be living with. It was nuts. It was nuts. I had less than $1,000 to my name, and I just did it. You got to bet on yourself. You got to believe in yourself and make it happen.
No, it's true. It's so true. And I don't know. It's just like, when you're calling it, you're like, I gotta go. And people are like, what? You're like, doesn't matter. It's not your journey. It's mine. I'll explain it to you later.
I think a lot of people fail at their journeys because of that exact example. Is they expect other people to understand their dream, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's even their significant other. But what I think people need to understand is it's okay if other people don't understand your dream, because it's not their dream. It's yours. You have to believe in it. You have to understand it and go after it, and kind of put on headphones and ignore that negative noise.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. In fact, the biggest critics and the biggest people that are going to try to talk down to you are the ones closest to you. So that is your lesson. The family is going to be the most critical. The significant other, if it's not the right one, will be the most critical. And you know what? At the end of the day, you should be doing it for yourself regardless. And it will all line up. If you're doing it for anybody else, it's not going to work. So
would little Nikki, that grew up as a Guidette, as you said, in New Jersey, be proud of the Nikki, the woman today?
Oh yes, 100%. It's so weird. I knew as a kid, I always knew I would go to Colorado. Spoiler alert, we've never been to Colorado as a family. We've never taken a vacation here. I would literally sit on the computer and watch Google images of Colorado, and I'm like, I have to be at Breckenridge. I need to be there. See these mountains. I have to be there. My dad's like, okay, we'll go. Let's do it. So whatever crazy dreams that you have, just follow them. Life is too short. And I hope people learn this during this pandemic. It's do what you want to do. It could be gone in a second, literally.
Yes. So I want to put over Fit to Nick now. Where can people find your fitness company? Where can they find their one-stop shop for, fitness, wellness, health, and just everything that you do? Where can they find it?
So our website is super easy. It's fittonick.com, FIT, the number 2, NIK. And that's the same as my Instagram handle as well as Twitter handle. I try to keep it all synonymous because I know how that works. When you're trying to find somebody, it's the official this, who's this. So, yep, everything is on fittonick.com. I'm pretty vocal on my Instagram and post my story every day. So I try to keep you guys informed of what's going on or any changes. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
What about your blog? Can you briefly put over your blog as well?
Yes. So my blog is actually called Yoked and Woke because I'm yoked and woke. But no, that can be found on my website too, at fitsnick.com. I'm a little bit behind for my standards on there, but I do post just pretty generalized, informative articles based on a lot of questions I'll be getting in my DMs that are kind of common. I'll just try to address it in one blog post so that you guys can see more of the why behind it. And I'm also pretty responsive to my inbox. So if you guys have any questions or you didn't understand something from here, just message me, and it might take me a couple days to get back to you, but I pretty much answer everybody because that feels cool when somebody answers you when you have a question, and I don't want you guys to feel uncool. So
do you do any sort of tutorials on YouTube or anything like that people can kind of look up to figure out what they can do to get started?
It's interesting. I have not started the whole YouTube rabbit hole yet. It's on my to-do list. I know everyone's on it. All
right, so we can look forward to that in the very, 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 very near future.
Yes, very much so.
On your website, do you have a list of brands that you have tested out that are kind of Nikki and Fit to Nick approved that people can kind of look at to see if it'll benefit them?
Not specifically like a list, like on a tab per se, but I did actually do a blog post about that because somebody had asked me like, what's your go-to for this? And I was like, just this. And they're like, thanks. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't know it was that serious, but again, I research the heck out of everything that I take. I consume, I use on your skin, because your skin's your biggest organ. So if you're putting lotions on there, you got to make sure that they're approved. So I do actually have that on there, and I definitely will be more vocal about that. So if you guys have any, questions, just ask.
Wonderful. And your competition is coming up. I think you said you're about 7 weeks out or so. Where can people see that?
So this show, they might do a live stream only because of what's going on with COVID and like audience restrictions. As of right now, it's one audience member per competitor. But again, that probably is going to change because it's being held in Vegas. So yeah, everything will be either live streamed or, hubby will post about it because he'll be in the audience as my one lone fan.
What is his social media? So if fans want to see that, they can find it.
His is at the Nick Giacara. Very simple.
Perfect. All right, you guys heard it here first. You can visit fit2nick.com to find Nikki on Twitter and Instagram. It's the exact same thing, at fit2nik, fit2nick. Join her for her upcoming competition in the wellness category. She is killing it, guys. She has already done bikini. She's doing amazing things. You can find her on a website, email her, send her a message if you guys have any other questions. Find her on Twitter and Instagram. She's a lot more vocal on Instagram than Twitter, so get on that Instagram. Give her a shout out. She is your modern day Wonder Woman. She is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today and being so candid.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, guys, this is the end of the most recent episode of Talks with Taeler Hendrix. Be sure to follow me on Twitter with @Taeler_Hendrix, on Instagram with @TaelerHendrixROH. I'm sorry, there was fake me's on there before the real me was. I'm not cool. Be sure to find my book on Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com. It's Not Easy Being a Sloth by Taeler Hendrix, and my YouTube channel where you will find clips from this upcoming episode with youtube.com/Taeler Hendrix, as well as my website, TaelerHendrix.net. Until next time, everybody.